Hi. Yikes. Let's talk Tourette's, because that's something I get. So if you don't know what Tourette's or tics are, I suggest you Google that, because that's not what this video is about. Okay, so you see somebody ticking, rule number 1, don't respond to it. Responding or repeating a tic, at least in my case, and I'm pretty sure in most cases, make it worse. If I tick the word hi, don't say it back. That's weird. However, laughing, I find in a lot of cases, of course, is particular to the individual. Laughing, as long as you're laughing at the funniness of the tic, is usually okay. Ask the person, but... However, if you're like laughing at the person and like they're struggling, a general rule is 1, ask the person if it's okay to laugh or like smile, and if they say yes, laugh with the person and not at them. I'll make a part 2, leave questions in the comments. Talking about Tourette's part 3. One of you asked what Tourette's was in the comments, but this series isn't about that, so please Google it. Firstly, somebody asked if Tourette's or tics hurt, and they aren't inherently painful, but if I do like hit myself or pull a muscle, it can hurt. Another person asked, what's it like going to the cinema or the movie theater or plane rides when you have Tourette's, and let me just tell you, it sucks. In the airport, I'm constantly scared that I look like I'm on drugs, and in the movie theater, I feel like I'm coming off as rude, so I like to warn the person beside me. Just a personal preference. Somebody asked if I get tic attacks, and I do. I get them like once a month on good months. If I'm stressed, I get them more often. Somebody asked if you can grow out of Tourette's, and actually, yes, it's more likely that the tics will start going away as you get older. Doesn't mean they always will, though. A lot of you are coming to me saying you are developing tics and you're scared and like what should you do? Don't freak out, but do go to a doctor because I can't diagnose you. Everything's gonna be okay, I promise, just go get that checked out. Anyways, leave more questions in the comments below. I love doing this series, and I'll see you next time. Snatched. Talking about Tourette's part 5. I just put that on because it was fun. Hi! Anyways, a question I get a lot is, can I hold in my tics, or can like people with Tourette's not tic? And the answer is yes. Okay, so imagine this. You have an itch on your leg, but you aren't in a position where you can itch the itch. So you just sit there, and you can feel the itch, and you need to itch, and it gets worse, and it's so uncomfortable and kind of like even painful, but you can't itch. That's holding in tics. Somebody asked how I realized I had Tourette's, and I actually had tics for 2 years, but because like society is so uneducated about Tourette's, I had no idea what was going on. 2 years before I got diagnosed. Somebody asked if I get bullied, and the answer is yes. There was actually a rumor in freshman year that half the school believed that I was faking it. People would even fake having tics and then say it's their Tourette's. Leave questions for part 5. Talking about Tourette's part 5! I got it right this time. Number 1, how difficult was it to get diagnosed? For me, it's actually unique because I had it for 2 years before I even tried to get diagnosed, and then my doctor was somebody my family knew already, and I'd been going to him my entire life, so he believed me, he was really good about it, and it was kind of easy, but it can be difficult for a lot of people. Yeah, so it's just my experience isn't everybody's. Number 2, can you develop it? Actually, you're not born with Tourette's. It's normally developed when you're a kid, like 5 to 7 range, but there's a thing called late onset where it's developed in your teen years, which is what happened to me. As long as it develops before you're 18, then you can be diagnosed. Finally, are Tourette's and OCD related? Yes, they actually are. There is a thing called the Tourettic trio. It consists of ADHD, OCD, and Tourette's because those 3 disorders are so closely intertwined that they come in like a trio. I enjoy making these, so please leave questions for part 6. Thank you! Talking about Tourette's part 6. Okay, so somebody gave me a really important correction in my last video. You actually are born with Tourette's, but the gene is dormant until your childhood or your like puberty or whatever wakes it up. So that was a very important correction. You are born with it, but it's not present until around 5 to 7. Have I ever hit somebody because of a tic? Yes! It's embarrassing. I also used to like catcall people by accident. One of my tics used to be, "Hi, nice legs," and I just yell it to people walking down the hallway. Advice for people with Tourette's: 1, stand up for yourself. If people are making fun of you, put them in their place, and if you can't, have somebody do it for you. Either an adult or a brave friend. If you need accommodations, get those accommodations. Do it! You'll thank yourself, trust me. If you want to see a movie, go to the movie theater when the movie's been out for a little bit so the movie theater's kind of empty. And finally, don't be ashamed, it's okay. Questions for part 7. Okay, so this user asked me a question about my Tourette's that she couldn't fit into a comment, so I'm going to be answering it here. So I guess talking about Tourette's part 7? She basically asked, does my Tourette's get worse in specific situations, such as having the urge to yell bomb in an airport terminal or curse at a church? And yes, I cannot speak for everybody, but yeah. Some examples is I went to a beach and I could not stop yelling the word shark. I went to a church camp over the summer and I could not stop flipping the bird. It's even with motor tics. Like if I know I'm not in a position where I should be moving, I'm moving. Like when I'm reshaping my head, which I need to do soon, I know I should move my head, so my head just starts going everywhere. There have been a few times where I've been out with my partner and I yelled the word rapist because I knew that would be the worst thing to tic. My Tourette's hates me. But I'm just speaking from my experience, not everybody. I love this series, so please leave questions for part 8. Alright, y'all, let's talk about Tourette's part 8. Hi! And I'm sick. Anyways, let's get into it. Can tics get triggered by being tired or cold? Yes, actually. Being tired, for me, actually, is one of my biggest triggers. If I didn't get much sleep the night before, I am definitely ticking a lot, which is me now. People also trigger my tics, just being around people. Somebody was like, can you have tics without having Tourette's? Yes, you actually can. It's common in anxiety, OCD, like ADHD type stuff. So yeah, you don't have to have Tourette's to have tics. Someone asked what, like, some of the most awkward situations I've been in because of Tourette's. I actually made 2 videos about that. Go check them out. But also, I've laughed. I've had, like, a laughing tic when somebody said their dog was, like, sick and dying. So that wasn't very good, but a lot of awkward moments because of it. I used to have a tic where I'd catcall people by saying, hey, nice legs. This series isn't getting as much attention as it used to, and I'm not getting as many questions, so I might stop it, but leave questions if you have them. Thank you. Alright, so talking about Tourette's part 9. This one's quick because I'm about to leave somewhere. So somebody asked me if I have tics in my dreams, which surprisingly, no. I actually don't have tics in my dreams. I just now realized that. I had several people asking if my tics affected my sleep, or like, just, my rest or my night. Yes, I actually specifically have certain tics that I tic just when I'm trying to get to sleep, and they're annoying. I've kind of gotten used to them, but they do sometimes make it hard to sleep. Okay, somebody asked if I can get tics from the internet, and actually, yes, Detroit Become Human gave me a tic where I just yelled, hi, my name is Connor. So yeah, tics can come from the internet or your surroundings. What's the best way for a stranger to react to your tics? Don't react to them. I mean, if it's funny, and the person with Tourette's seems to be laughing, you can laugh with them, but otherwise, don't really react to it. It can make it worse. Thank you guys so much for all the questions, and I'm actually asking you guys not to leave comments on this video so that I can get to all of them from the last one, because there were so many. I love you guys. Bye! Talking about Tourette's part 10, I love the series so much, but you guys ask a lot of questions. I've written them all down here, so let's get to it. I am definitely splitting these up into multiple videos, by the way. Alright, so answering 2 questions in one. What are tics, and how do you explain tics quickly to, like, a stranger? So, hi, tics are involuntary movements or vocalizations. That's all you gotta say. Going off of that, do all tics make noise? No, there are tics called motor tics, which are the movements, and tics called vocal tics, where are the vocalizations. You can have one, like either or you can have both. So either or are different disorders, but both is Tourette's. So somebody asked what's the difference between normal tics and complex tics. So complex tics are basically like jumping up and down or spinning, while normal tics might be this head jerk or like eyebrow raising, and vocally complex tics might be saying full words or full phrases while just making noises would be normal. Media portrays Tourette's as mainly complex tics, but in reality, it's not. Alright, please don't leave comments again. I'm getting to it, but I love this series. Bye! Alright, part 11, and yes, I am filming these all consecutively just to knock out all these so you guys can start asking more questions. What triggers my tics? For me personally, and I think in most cases, a lot of emotion triggers my Tourette's. So like a lot of being happy or being excited, I'll tic. If I'm nervous, I'll tic. If I'm angry, I'll tic. It's just emotions and a lot of stimuli. And also for me personally, people and lack of sleep, which also knocks out my thing, do I tic when I'm alone? Yes, but not as much as when I'm around people. 2 questions in one, baby. Somebody asked if they wax and wane, and yes, it's actually like a big part of Tourette's and most disorders. There's periods where it's awful and I can barely do anything, and then there's periods where I kind of forget I even have it. I'm actually currently in a waning period, so it's really low. And to go off of that and answer another question, they also change. Sometimes I'll only have a tic for a day and then never say it again. Sometimes tics last for months, and then the ones that lasted for months disappear. Tourette's like to keep... It keeps me on my toes. Anyways, tune in for part 12! Okay, talking about Tourette's part 12, and somebody asked what's my most common tic, and so I talked about complex and normal tics, and so my most common tic is like this just little head nod or eyebrow raise, and then for verbal, it's just like that noise, like the or like maybe some whistling. Another person asked how to calm your tics. Well, for me, I have to distract myself because a big trigger for Tourette's that I didn't talk about is talking about it, which is kind of funny, but like just thinking about it and acknowledging it can trigger it even further, so I just distract myself. Also, sidebar, never tell somebody with Tourette's to calm down or relax. That's annoying. Another person asked if I ever get tics that make me forget what I'm talking about, and yes, you have no idea how many times I've been filming this type of video, and I tic, and I completely lose my train of thought. It's annoying. It happens all the time. I interrupt myself, and I also have another tic where I just completely freeze. I'll like stop walking, stop whatever I'm doing. Also, I'm almost done with the list, but until then, stay tuned for part 13. Talking about Tourette's part 13, somebody asked, well, 1, can you feel tics coming on, and 2, how do they feel? So tics are semi-involuntary, but it's easier to describe them as involuntary. Okay, so you know how you are when you get an itch? I bet half the time you get an itch you don't even realize because you just scratch it without thinking. You don't even process the urge to scratch, there's the involuntary part. But sometimes you do feel it and you're in a position where you can't scratch it. And the feeling gets worse and worse. And the urge to scratch gets bigger and bigger. And at that point, it's just really uncomfortable. That's the involuntary part, except with Tourette's, you have to tic at some point. You have to. Going off of that, somebody asked what a tic attack was. It's basically tics times 100, and uncontrollable and terrible. They range in severity, but mine leave me immobile. They last like 30 minutes to an hour, and it's just spasming. It sucks, but I cope. Not everybody with Tourette's gets tic attacks. Anyways, I'll see you in the next part. Don't leave questions. Bye. Love. Talking about Tourette's part 14, and there's 2 questions left on the card, so then after this you guys can go back to asking questions. How do you write a character with Tourette's? Well, I actually haven't read a lot about characters with Tourette's. Keep in mind that having constant complex tics that you see in media is actually a pretty severe case of Tourette's. And I guess you can write he ticked, but also try and put in his head jerked to the side, or just don't put he ticked, like what he tick. Did he verbally tick? Did he motor tick? Keep the severity of the Tourette's consistent and add some reoccurring ticks to make it realistic. Last question. So how do I cope? Well, I've found that Tourette's and my tics directly correlate with my physical and mental health. If I'm extremely stressed, my tics are bad. If I haven't got enough sleep, my tics are bad. My recommendation is take care of yourself. Eat, drink some water, get sleep, take care of your mental health, don't stress yourself out. And know that Tourette's and any other condition does not define your worth. Anyways, I love you guys, and leave questions in the comments. Yay, bye! So talking about Tourette's part 15, it's been a minute, so let's get right back into it. Someone asked, what's life like with Tourette's? And honestly, I don't know how to answer that because I don't know what life is like without Tourette's. I mean, I did for a few years, but I don't remember it really. Sometimes I even forget I have Tourette's. Somebody asked if Tourette's is hereditary, and yes, you can have Tourette's without anybody else in your family having it, but it's much more likely if somebody else in your family has it. Several people asked if I tic while I sing, and it's a complex answer. So focus are distractions, like kind of makes tics go down. So if I'm focused on singing or drawing or writing, my tics are significantly better, but I can, still tic while I'm singing. It's less likely. Somebody asked if finding a job with Tourette's is hard, and we will see. Because I've never tried to get a job, but I'm really considering it, and I'm really scared because autism, Tourette's, and stress, and but I'm guessing it is going to be difficult. Anyways, I love you guys. Leave questions in the comments for part 16. I'll see you guys talking about Tourette's part 17. I'm so glad it's gotten like this far. I'm really happy. Somebody asked if tics affect my sleep, and sometimes I'm just like trying to get to bed, and I keep ticking, and I keep focusing on the fact that I'm ticking, so it gets worse, and so sometimes, but majority of the time, yeah, I can sleep pretty normally. I'm used to it. So a lot of people ask like what's my favorite tic, but somebody asked what's my least favorite tic. And to that I say a lot. These neck ones, these neck ones hurt my neck sometimes. Sometimes I scream rapist randomly. There are a lot more bad ones than good ones. Also, they're really bad today, so. Somebody asked how I do my makeup, and like I've said in previous videos, focus-based tasks make my tics go down, so my makeup isn't really affected because I'm really focused when I do it. Somebody asked if my Tourette's has gotten better. Yeah, I'd say so. It really comes and goes. Thank you guys for the questions. Leave some in the comments for part 18. That's crazy. Anyways, I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Talking about Tourette's part 18, and I want to do a really quick disclaimer. I will not be answering any questions from previous videos in the comments of previous videos. I will only be answering what I have on my note card here, the question in this video's comments, and the questions in future videos' comments. I'm sorry if you asked a question in a previous video's comments, but it is a lot to keep up with and I'm really losing track. Thank you so much for understanding. Anyways, let's get to it. Somebody asked what I thought of the creepypasta Tiki Toby, and I actually used to be into creepypasta when I was a kid, and I resonated with this character a lot. I think the concept of this character having Tourette's itself is not offensive. However, since the creepypasta community, from what I know, thrives off of fanfic, it depends on the writer and how they portray the Tourette's to decide whether or not it's kind of offensive or eh. Somebody asked how rare is Tourette's, and actually, it's not that rare. What we see in media usually is a severe case of Tourette's. It's very common for people to have tic disorders that are just really minor stuff you don't even notice. Thank you guys so much for understanding. Leave questions in the comments for part 19. Talking about Tourette's part 19! Somebody asked what age did I develop tics, and I actually developed tics at 12 years old, which is caterpillars, cats! Which is something called late onset, because normally it's developed around age 5 to 7. And to be diagnosed with Tourette's, you must have at least had it before you're 18. Somebody asked, woohoo, hi, if certain stimuli can bring out certain tics, and yes. I used to tic the word cake, but only when somebody would ask me for my name, which is a very specific example, but an example nonetheless. Somebody asked like a very wholesome question, which was, what is the good part about Tourette's? I have found that Tourette's has actually given me a really good sense of humor. And I have a lot of people who have told me that every person with Tourette's that they've met has a really good sense of humor. It's also a pretty good icebreaker. And it led me here to advocate for Tourette's. Like, it gave me this community. Leave questions for part 20, and I love you guys so much. Bye. Talking about Tourette's part 20, and I have a full card today. A really good question somebody asked was cats. It was if I tic specific or random words, and it's kind of a mix of both. The words I tic are usually random, unless of course it's something that I've heard repeatedly and picked up from somebody else, but they're usually just random things that just pop out of my mouth. But a tic is repetitive, so if I tic cats, I'll probably be ticking it a bunch, so it's like I guess like a specific word. I don't know, but I hope I answered that question well. Some people asked why some people Tourette's cuss and why some people Tourette's only make noises, and that's because there's different types. Coprolalia is the random cursing, copropraxia is the random very obscene movements like the middle finger. Complex tics can be full phrases while normal tics can just be sounds. It just depends on the person. Somebody asked what happens if you develop tics after 18. I guess you just don't get diagnosed. I'm not too sure. Please don't leave questions. I have a full card and I'm going to make another video immediately after this. So, bye. So this is talking about Tourette's part 22, and somebody asked me a question that's actually pretty loaded, and I think it might take a while to answer, so I'm going to take the entire video to answer it. Would I get rid of my Tourette's if I had the option? I'm sure different time periods of me would be answering very differently, and I'm sure that's the same for anyone who's disabled. There have been many cases where people ask blind or deaf or other disabled people whether or not they'd get rid of their disability, and they say no. Over the 4 to 5 years that I have had Tourette's, I have worked to control it better, and I've worked to love myself better. I hated myself and my Tourette's for a very long time, and it took a lot of progress and work on my half to get over that. I feel like saying, oh, I'd get rid of it in a second is like a slap in the face to all the progress I have personally made. My battles have made me who I am, and they will continue to do that. I think God made me this way for a reason. And anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't leave questions so I can get to the other ones. And I love you guys. See you later. Talking about Tourette's part 23. Last one was a little bit serious, but we're going to get right back into things. So somebody asked if I've ever gotten in trouble for ticking, and yes and no, kind of. I used to have not pretty bad. I used to have coprolalia, and I got called into the office, and they were basically like, learn to redirect that, or get on medications. You can't be saying that type of stuff in school. Sometimes I think people glare at me for making noise, and then they realize I have Tourette's, and it's all good, so yeah, I think I've gotten in trouble for ticking. Somebody asked if I tic what I think, or if I tic what I've been thinking for a while, and kinda. Sometimes when I have verbal tics, I have what I'm about to tic for a split second before it comes out of my mouth. And my Tourette's likes to sabotage me, and another trigger for Tourette's is thinking about it. So sometimes I'll think, oh, this would be a really bad thing to tic right now. And I tic it, so that happens. Somebody else asked if certain temperatures bring out my tics, and not personally, but I've heard of it with other people. I'm asking you guys not to leave questions on this video because I have a lot to get to. I love you guys. See you later. Talking about Tourette's part 24. What? Someone asked me to talk more about tick attacks, and I will. If tics can be described as an itching feeling, go back to watching my other previous videos if you want to know what I mean, then a tick attack can be described as that itching feeling everywhere, all at once. Tick attacks can last anywhere between 15 minutes to 2 hours, and it's basically a bunch of unsuppressible tics, mostly motor, usually. For some people, they're just extremely inconvenient, and for some people, like me, they're debilitating. Also, I just said everywhere, but they're not always everywhere. They can be in like one spot, but usually they're everywhere, for me at least. On a similar note, somebody asked, how can you help a friend who's having a tick attack? A lot of people know what not to do, touch them. But what should you do? And I say that you should try and get them out of the room or the situation if you can. And if you can't, sit down with them, make sure everyone else is aware of what's going on, make sure they're safe. I recommend talking to the person that has Tourette's beforehand to ask what you should do. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Love you. Talking about Tourette's part 25. Alright, let's get right into it. I have 4 questions that I want to get through so I can get rid of all the questions. You can ask some new ones. Somebody asked if I get tics from people saying things over and over again. And yes, that's called echolalia. Echolalia and autism and echolalia and Tourette's are different things. If you want to know, ask about it. I'll answer. I keep looking at myself. I need to look at the camera. Somebody asked if it's offensive to say you like somebody's tic, and it really depends. If it's a tic that clearly makes the person uncomfortable and looks really hard for them to deal with, or if the person clearly doesn't like their own tics, it can be offensive. It really does depend on the person. Somebody asked if I tic in my mind, and yes, kinda. I really don't know how to describe it. Like repetitive thoughts over and over and over. Yeah, I get that. Finally, somebody asked what's my funniest tic, and that really depends and it changes a lot. I used to have a tic talking about scorpions randomly. I used to have a tic where I'd scream sharks in the water. I used to tic nerd and other stuff. It changes so often. Leave questions in the comments below for part 26, and I love you guys so much. Talking about Tourette's part 26, and I got a full card. Let's go! Someone asked if I've ever broken something from ticking, and not that I remember, but I probably have. I've definitely spilled a lot of water and thrown things, but I don't remember ever specifically breaking something. Somebody asked, oh wow, shut up, if any medications completely get rid of all symptoms of Tourette's, and no. Lots of medications can kind of they can ease Tourette's, but no medications can get rid of it completely. Someone asked what my oldest tic is, and it's literally just this. That was actually one of my first ones, I think. Another person asked if I have a tic that makes me laugh, and I actually have 2 types of laughing tics. One where it's just ha ha, and another one where I genuinely sound like I'm actually laughing. It's kind of weird. Another person asked how long I can hold in my tics, and I think like a few minutes. I'm not really sure. I don't really try to or measure it. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Love you guys. I said guys a lot. Talking about Tourette's part 27. Still got a bit of a card, so let's go. Somebody asked if I tic full words or full sentences, and actually there's a difference. I'm pretty sure I've talked about it, but there's complex tics and there's normal tics. Normal tics might be a small word or just noises, and complex tics will be big words or full sentences, and I have both. Somebody also asked if you get frequent changes in tics or if you have the same tic for years, and once again, both. Same for me. I have tics that I've had forever, and then I have tics that I only have for like a week or even a day. I'm pretty sure I've also talked about that one. It varies from person to person. Somebody asked if I've ever been taking a test. Cats. And I've ticked the answer to a test, and no, but even if I did tick the answer, hi, it wouldn't matter, but hi, because I take tests in separate rooms because of my tics. Somebody else asked if I found my tics helping me, and I mean, they're a good icebreaker, but that's about all I can think of for that. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you guys in part 28. Love ya. Talking about Tourette's part 28. I've only got 2 questions left on the card, so I can take it slow and you guys can start asking more questions for the next set of videos. I don't know why talking is being so weird today. I get a lot of questions asking, is it normal to develop tics at this age? Is it normal to develop tics at this age? And usually the answer is yes, as long as it's under 18. But somebody asked if it's normal to develop it at 19. And the answer is no. The diagnostic criteria for Tourette's is actually you have to develop it before you're 18. I would see a doctor. Somebody else asked, what is the best way to support somebody with Tourette's in the classroom, specifically if you're a teacher? I am just a mess today. I would say talk to that student. Ask them personally what they could use in the classroom. Keep a watchful eye for bullies. I was harassed in the classroom for my tics. In several classes, only one teacher stood up for me. Make sure you actually seriously read their accommodations sheet if they have one. I love you guys so much. Leave questions in the comments for part 29. Mwah! It's been a minute, but talking about Tourette's part 29. What the heck? Okay, so I get this a lot. A lot of people tell me there's cases of in their family, their mother, their brother, they themselves had Tourette's at a young age, and then it left, and then it came back, and they're asking me, is that normal? And to that I say, yes, tics wax and wane, and they can go up and down to the point where it seems like it completely left. There's your answer. Hi. Next one, hi, is pretty cut and dry. Do horror movies give me tics? No, I don't even like horror movies that much, but... Somebody asked if people with Tourette's can drive. Actually, multiple people did. But, I can drive, but some people with Tourette's can't because it could be a risk. It really is case by case. You kind of have to pass the driver's ed, get a doctor note. It's a process, but I can drive. Some others can't. Depends on the person. I'm going to answer these 4 questions in part 30, and then you guys get back to asking questions. I'll be answering questions. Anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Talking about Tourette's part 30! Yay! Okay, let's get right into it. Somebody asked me if I know what I'm about to say when I verbally tic before I tic it, and let me talk about it for a minute. Like, sometimes what I say just comes out of my mouth, and I'm like, okay, like, I didn't know that. But sometimes it flashes through my head, like, right before I say it. I'm like, oh no, but then I say it. It's weird. It's really weird to try and explain. Somebody asked how to support a Tourettic friend, and I say, ask them personally and stand up for them if they're getting harassed or bullied or if people are looking at them weird in public. Somebody asked for advice going to the neurologist for the first time. Be open, be honest. Their job is to help you, make the process easier for them. And finally, how to open up to your parents that you think you might have Tourette's or a tic disorder. Just be open, be honest, be upfront, and stand up for yourself. If the situation isn't dangerous, don't hold in your tics around them. It might make it more believable for them. Leave questions in the comments for part 31. Thank you guys.